In my last video, I went into detail about how I think we are heading towards a financial crisis, and I talked a lot about the data because, honestly, the numbers do not lie. Even if people try to, I could be completely wrong about the exact day the sky falls, since I am not a fortune teller or a psychic sitting behind a crystal ball. I will admit a lot of the data right now is pretty concerning, and I do still stand by what I said, even if the timing shifts a bit. Maybe the next 2 years look great and the stock market keeps humming along, while the job market stays tight, but that does not change the reality of the cycle. Maybe the big crisis that I am talking about does not happen until 2028 or 2030 or even later on in the decade. But regardless of what happens, I think it is really important to make yourself recession-proof, especially when you are in your 20s and have the most to gain. Today we are discussing exactly how to do that without making your life a miserable grind of overwork and stress. But before we jump into the video, I want you to comment down below and tell me if you feel prepared for a recession right now. Be honest about why or why not, because I genuinely want to hear how many of you are actually paying attention. Before we talk about strategy and planning on what to do if we go into a recession, we do need to understand the psychology of the situation. Recessions are not just economic events measured by GDP and interest rates. They are massive psychological events that break people who lack discipline. What happens to a lot of people is that when the economy gets tight, they move into a state of pure unadulterated panic. They cut everything out and they stop investing and they freeze like a deer in headlights waiting for things to get better. While the average person tends to do these things, wealthy people do the exact opposite because they understand that fear is a discount code. They stay calm and they focus on fundamentals while looking for opportunities that everyone else is too scared to even think about. They prepare months and years in advance so they do not have to react when the chaos finally hits the fan. The main reason I am making this video is so that we can get prepared in case something does happen in the near future, because reacting is for losers. If you can master your reaction and be prepared for these things, you already have a huge advantage over most people who live paycheck to paycheck in your 20s. Your biggest asset is not the balance in your bank account. It is your ability to adapt without being weighed down by baggage. It is a lot easier for somebody in their 20s who is single and does not have any kids to pivot compared to someone with a massive mortgage and 3 children. Recessions reward people who can move and learn and adapt quickly, which is exactly what we are going to build today. One of the first things I believe you need to do when preparing for a financial crisis is build up a stack of cold, hard cash. In a recession, cash is not just comfort, it is power, and it is freedom, and it is the ultimate safety net. Let us talk about the emergency fund real quick and why I believe you need to build this up in 3 distinct levels. The first level is the micro cushion, which is essentially just a small barrier between you and total disaster. I want you to try and save up between $500 and $1,000 as quickly as possible without overthinking the process. I am not saying you need to save this up tonight, but try to at least save up $1,000 over the course of 1 or 2 or 3 months. This is going to protect you from dumb emergencies like having to buy a flight last minute or finding out your tires are suddenly flat. These are just little one-off things that happen to everyone, and they usually derail people who have zero savings. Once you get past level 1, you will find that your life feels a lot more stable because you have a small floor to stand on. Now, once you save up that first $1,000, the next thing I want you to do is move to level 2, which is building real stability. This means saving up exactly 1 month of expenses so you can survive if your hours get cut or a paycheck is delayed. Let us pretend you save up $1,000, but your total monthly bills come out to $3,000 in total. You are going to try to save up an extra $2,000, which means you are already a third of the way there. Sit down and look at your bills and your groceries and every single thing you spend in a month to find that target number. Once you have that 1 month of expenses, you are officially doing better than half of the population who would go broke in a week. That is level 2 as you move from a micro cushion to actual stability that gives you room to think. Then we are going to go to level 3, which is finishing out the full emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. This is the ultimate move because it protects you from long layoffs or a job market that turns into a complete desert. If you think the job market is going to be really bad, then you should lean towards 6 months instead of 3. You do not need to build all 3 levels at once. You just have to build them in order so you do not get overwhelmed. Once you build them in that order, you are going to have a very nice cushion that allows you to sleep at night while everyone else is losing theirs. The reason this matters is because in a recession, job security becomes very unpredictable, and having cash gives you the ability to breathe. It gives you leverage so you do not have to accept the first terrible job offer that comes your way just to pay for rent. So that is the first thing you are going to do. Focus on building that emergency fund until it is solid. Now let us talk about trying to recession-proof your income because your paycheck is your first line of defense. If the economy goes sideways for a while, the people who get hurt the most are the ones with only one source of income. This is especially true if that income is tied to a vulnerable industry like tech, which is currently laying people off by the thousands. Let us break down how to protect your income in 3 different layers, starting with making yourself layoff resistant. You cannot control the macroeconomy, but you can control how valuable you are to the person who signs your checks. In your 20s, the fastest way to protect your income is to make yourself incredibly hard to replace. You want to be the person who solves problems and communicates clearly while making your boss's life significantly easier. If your boss knows they can lean on you for anything, they are going to protect you when the budget cuts eventually come. Recessions force companies to cut the bottom performers and the lazy workers, not the people who are essential to the daily operation. The second layer is building a recession-proof skill stack that works regardless of what the market is doing. Skills that survive recessions include sales and copywriting and data analytics and coding and financial modeling and project management. You will hear about AI tools a ton these days because knowing how to use them makes you 10 times more productive. Try to pick one high-value skill and get very good at it, then stack another one on top to become a unicorn. Your 20s are the perfect decade to build this stack because skills compound just like money does over time. Once you learn a skill, you always know it, and you can use it to negotiate higher pay even when times are tough. Layer 3 is adding a small and simple and low overhead side income that does not drain all of your energy. I am not talking about starting a massive corporation. I am talking about something stable like freelancing or content creation. Maybe you sell digital templates or build websites or do tutoring or even rent out things you already own. One extra income stream can be the difference between panic and peace when your main job feels shaky. First, you build that emergency fund. Then you figure out how to recession-proof your income through value and skills. Now let us talk about mastering recession investing because this is where most people completely mess up their future. The number one rule of recession investing is to not stop investing as long as you still have a steady paycheck in your 20s. A recession is actually a blessing in disguise because everything you want to buy is suddenly on sale. Prices are lower, so you get more shares for every dollar you put into the market and you have decades to recover. It does not matter if the market drops by 30% or 40% because you are not retiring in 2 or 3 years. You have 30 or 40 years to let that money grow, and the market always bounces back eventually. The more money you put in while the market is down, the quicker you are going to reach your break-even point and start seeing real wealth. You should automate your investing as much as possible so you do not have to think about it or look at the charts. Set up automatic contributions into index funds or ETFs that track the total market and just walk away. Make sure you are getting your 401k match and filling up your Roth IRA because those tax advantages are huge. Do not try to time the market or wait for the absolute bottom because you will miss the recovery every single time. The next thing you want to do is make sure you avoid big emotional moves like pulling all your money out in a fit of fear. Please do not try to wait until things get better to start investing again because by then the profit has already been made. I promise you that long-term this will play out great if you just stay the course and remain boring. One thing I must mention is that you should pay off all high-interest debt before you get too aggressive with investing. Credit cards and payday loans with interest rates above 8% are a guaranteed loss that will eat your soul. Once that debt is gone, you free up cash flow and reduce your overall risk, which is the name of the game. Now let us talk about recession-proofing your lifestyle, which matters more than most people realize. You do not need to live like you are broke and miserable. You just need to live very strategically. One of the first things you can do is keep your fixed costs as low as humanly possible. The lower your fixed expenses are, the more flexible and dangerous you are in a competitive market. Try to avoid locking yourself into a luxury apartment or a high car payment that takes up half of your check. Another important move is building a recession-proof social circle filled with people who are actually motivated. Spend your time around people who are improving their skills and who are financially responsible instead of losers. Do not surround yourself with people who influence you to spend money you do not have on things you do not need. You should not care what people think of your lifestyle because their opinions will not pay your bills in 2028. Have the discipline to say no to expensive outings if they do not fit into your plan for total freedom. Finally, make sure you maintain your health because health problems very quickly become massive financial problems. Sleeping well and eating healthy food and exercising are essential when the stress of the world starts to rise. That is how you recession-proof your lifestyle without becoming a hermit who hates life. The final step is to prepare for the massive opportunities that a recession always brings to the table. In every recession, the biggest wealth transfer in history happens from people who panic to people who prepare. This is when you will see stocks go on sale and real estate prices soften and businesses sell for cheap. You do not need $1 million to take advantage of this. You just need to be ready with cash and skills. If you have low expenses and a stable income, you can buy assets while everyone else is forced to sell them. I hope my last video did not scare you because I am not trying to fearmonger or sell you on doom. Recessions are not something you should fear. They are something you should anticipate with a smile. When you are in your 20s, you are in the decade where small decisions have the biggest payoff in the long run. Build your emergency fund and stack your skills and protect your income while investing consistently. Keep your expenses manageable and stay calm while the rest of the world loses its collective mind. If you do all these things, you are not only going to survive the next recession, you are going to thrive. You will come out of it stronger and smarter and feeling a lot more financially secure than you ever thought possible. That is it for me today, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little wake-up call. If you did, drop a like down below and hit that subscribe button to join the circle. I will see you in the next one where we continue to build wealth the boring way.